and welcome to Wires from the Deep, a Silo Series podcast. Today is Saturday, June 24, 2023, and you're listening to episode 11, Start Here. I am your host, Crystal, here with my co-host, Kelly.
Hey, everybody.
And joining us today for our breakdown of Silo Episode 9, The Getaway, is science fiction author and series editor of the anthology series Beyond the Stars, Patrice Fitzgerald. Hello, Patrice.
Hello, nice to be here.
So, in addition to what I just mentioned, Patrice is the author of a collection of sanctioned wool fan fiction. So, those of you who are listening who are book readers can check out her work by looking up Karma of the Silo. Patrice is also a longtime fan of Hugh Howey, and I think we even met online because of our mutual fandom of
I think,
wool, right?
yeah, I think that was it. We connected because of Hugh. He's a big connector.
Yeah. So, why don't you give us a brief history into how you became a wool fan?
Well, it's interesting because in one of our groups on Facebook, we're talking about how people discovered the books, and I am pretty sure it was sometime in 2012, so a good 10 plus years ago. And I just heard the scuttlebutt that there was this amazing short story that had become a book, which collected 5 short parts of it together in a book called Wool, which is very confusing because, of course, the first short story was called Wool, and then the whole thing was called Wool. So I read the first one, which I think it was either 99 cents or free. And I was kind of skeptical because I'm a little bit of a snob and, well, maybe a lot of a snob. And I thought, if everybody loves it, it's probably kind of commercial. I don't know what I thought. I read the first short story, Wool, and I was like, this is fantastic. And I immediately bought the whole book and immediately devoured that. And I think he was between shift 1 and shift 2. I'm not sure. When I started writing my own fan fiction with his permission. But I mean, obviously it was very smart of him to allow fans to write because that was very much a no-no at the time. And he was part of the reason that they created Kindle Worlds, where other authors could allow other people to write in their worlds with, protection, contract protection. And Kindle Worlds doesn't exist anymore, but it was another great opportunity for people to jump in and tell stories. And it's helped build his fan base.
And when was that, Patrice?
I started in 2013 and I finished my Karma of the Silo in 2014 and I did it in parts too. I had 5 parts and I put them together.
Mm-hmm.
I had to go back and look at all of this because I'm just now getting it out in paper. It's always been just an ebook, but I'm about to do a print book. So anyway, 2014 was when I had the whole book done.
It's funny because you mentioned that yours was in 5 parts. So Hugh really made that like the in thing to do, yeah, is to like write short stories and add parts on as it gained popularity and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, and it makes it. I've realized because I've written a lot of other things now, but it makes it so easy because it doesn't seem like this overwhelming task that you have to get through. Karma of the Silo is 80,000 words. But I wrote it in such short pieces that it was very doable. And it lends itself to a novel to have these different segments. So, yeah, it all worked out very well for me. And I just looked back recently to see how it's, in its heyday, how much that book sold, which was a very exciting moment. It was a lot. It even made some money.
Before we get to the breakdown, Wires from the Deep is brought to you by Pico's House. If you have a manuscript that you're looking to develop, fine-tune, or polish for self-publication or submission to agents and publishers, Pico's House offers comprehensive editorial services for fiction authors such as alpha and beta reading, developmental editing and manuscript critiques, line and copy editing, and proofreading and formatting. The team at Pico's House helps hundreds of authors each year and specializes in science fiction, fantasy, middle grade, and thrillers. To find out more, go to picoshouse.com, PIKKOSHOUSE.com. Please mention that you heard about Pico's House on Wires from the Deep. All right, so let's get to the breakdown. So last week ended on a really bad cliffhanger, right? Or stair hanger, railing hanger. She jumped up on the railing and she just plopped over the side, Grindelwald style. But yeah, and then the episode opens right where it left off, like literally, right? She just falls onto the walkway.
Right.
It's very painful, the sound
know.
when she hits the ground.
Yeah, it is. Like she just thumps down and it, like the
And
look
we
on
had
her
a week.
face.
We had a week to theorize about, okay, could there be a net? Does she have friends down in the down deep?
Is where she invented that little landing that heads off to Judicial.
I guess.
That's the only time I've ever seen that like walkway thing.
No, we've looked at like sweeping shots of like up and stuff. So there's like I think 3 areas where there's walkways and they alternate every
I think
so
there was one when
often.
she
So
said, remember when Johns was saying that she wants to see the babies? I think
yeah,
she had just,
she met the people on one of them. Yeah, so there's I
Yeah, there's
think
got to be a way to get from the stairway, obviously, on each platform, each level. But I didn't know what to expect. I thought there had to be something magical. And how far did she drop? That's an
it
interesting question.
it looked significantly
it was
high.
like ankle dropping range or like the breaking range.
Yeah, yeah,
And onto
exactly.
concrete too.
Yeah.
Ouch. I mean, like I would think that like if you drop onto like a yard with dirt, it's not nearly as bad.
Right.
But yeah, she like dropped right onto solid concrete. But it's
So
TV, so she
it's not
survives.
it's not metal. It's concrete.
I think it's concrete.
It looks
Yeah.
concrete. I don't
Okay.
know.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
she's tough. That
Yeah.
Rebecca Ferguson, she's in great shape.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was funny because after that they start chasing her. And last week, me and Kelly had talked about how worthless Sims is. He
Completely useless.
yeah.
I like him a little better now. I don't know. He like has softer sides, but I think he's just completely useless in every way.
Yeah, I think this episode they tried to soften him up, make him like about family and stuff like that. But I still don't like him.
Well,
Yeah.
of course he's one of the villains, but that's the thing that's so cool about this. There are so many potential villains, or are they really secrets upon secrets, mysteries upon mysteries? I mean, and I've read the books and I even wrote a book about it, and this is a whole new telling of the tale, but it's so much to keep track of. I mean, it's fascinating, but
Yeah, because Sims is heavily expanded from the book. I mean, he was important in the book, but he wasn't nearly this prominent,
right.
right? So, but yeah, so he's like starts running down the stairs, and I guess Paul somehow runs faster than him, and he chases Jules into the residential
Yeah.
area
Paul
and
is like suffering from some
the
mysterious
syndrome.
disease, right? He's
Yeah,
still faster than Sims is.
and
Yeah.
then he's like, I don't know where she went,
This
but
is
I
this is
do want to.
Billings. Billings we're talking about.
Paul Billings, yeah.
I
So
never I never use his first name, so I didn't know. Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, he's a really interesting character
he
going,
is, and
in between all of these different forces and trying to be a good guy and tough. He really wants to stick to the pact. He's the expert on the pact.
he's a fantastic actor too.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
really, me and
And
Kelly
what's the
are.
syndrome?
We don't
That's a
know.
big question, right? But yeah, so I'm curious though. Like I think he said that basically somebody let her in their apartment, right? Is that what he was saying? Something like she's the sheriff, she's still wearing
Oh
her
yeah, he
stuff,
says
so
something how it's easy for her to like get
get
He
into
inside
an
did, yeah,
apartment.
places.
he didn't say that he had witnessed it or be very specific. He suggested that, yeah,
Somebody's
we're not
hiding
going to
her.
find her because people will let her in because she's the
Yeah.
authority. Yeah, and she was wearing the badge or whatever.
Yeah, but then Sims goes to Bernard and then they're talking about how she got back to the staircase somehow, but I don't understand how she would like weren't didn't they have like guards on the thing? I don't really understand how she's getting around. I guess that's something
I
we're not
have
really
no idea.
supposed
It's like
to.
apparition. She's
Yeah.
in the pipes.
Yeah, she can apparate around this island.
Right. Well, she's
I
done that a couple of times. She went from the hospital, where the babies were, and then when they came in to raid it, she was
Yeah.
gone.
So I guess maybe because I don't remember them showing it, but somehow at some point she must have realized what to look for to find the cameras. Because if she can avoid these things, then she must know what to look
Well,
for.
When she's running around, you mean that she's like avoiding the cameras somehow?
Yeah, so she must know, like, because it's gotta be something that she can see, where she must know what they are. Like, are there
you're not
are
talking
there
about
little
just
mirrors
you're not
in
talking
the
about just in the
hallways?
apartments
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that they have them in. Well, they must have them in the hallways, but they don't have a lot of mirrors anywhere else, right?
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I'm wondering, like what they present as in the hallways. That she,
Right.
is it some kind of sign? You know what I mean? There must be something that she's suspicious of, and maybe
She
they
can
didn't show
identify.
that.
So
Yeah,
she knows what to
yeah,
duck around or avoid.
yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe it's just woo woo. It's just one of these things the author and the writers don't really explain.
So in the when Sims is talking to Bernard, his 18 keychain buzzes, right?
Right.
Um, he looks scared, Bernard, or
Yeah.
not, maybe not
Something about
scared.
it like really worries him, or
Yeah, he looks worried, or it's kind of like an ominous thing for him. Like he looks at it, and and I guess I mean because it's red too, right? I guess
and
maybe
we've not seen this thing before, right?
no, it was in the trailer, but this is the first time we've seen it in the show, I
I
think.
see.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't recall seeing it before, but I thought maybe he had it on him and we just thought it was a keychain, but obviously not lit up. But it suggests that there's somebody who he is afraid of or beholden to or getting
Mm-hmm.
communication from. And
Mm-hmm.
at this point, we can't imagine who or what that might be.
Yeah. And then after that, Sims goes and hires an escort for his family, which turns out to be spot on. I mean,
If his wife would let them in the house.
Yeah.
they didn't even arrive there in time either.
But you know what was so weird? Like the way I know that she was an X-rater or whatever, and it seemed like she didn't want to let them in the house, almost because she thought they would make them worse. Almost like she suspected there was something in there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Did she notice like some kind of like mark on her door or
Something, yeah.
something?
Maybe,
Yeah.
but it could be just that she wants to protect her child,
Yeah.
your son, from being exposed to any of that because they're trying to, keep the world safe and simple for him. Because
It,
obviously both parents know about some of the violence and the difficulty in the silo, but they're because she was very careful about not wanting him to see anything that happened, when Jules got in there, that about the gun or etc.
yeah,
She's
I'm
protecting him.
wondering if though that she had something to hide from Judicial that she didn't want him to see too. Like she was just not just like that she knew someone was in there, but maybe
Hmm.
she has personal things that she doesn't want because
No,
she
I
knows
think you're, yeah,
as a job she knows what they look for and what they would report and that
Right.
she could probably get in trouble. Maybe she's not supposed to have that gun, because that really
right.
took me by surprise. I don't think as a civilian she's supposed to have that, right?
I think you're exactly right. That she had things in there that they would have, at the very least, opened drawers under the pretense of keeping her safe. They might have
Yeah.
seen something, but also she's smarter than your average person, and she doesn't trust them, and doesn't want to give them any access to, her private space.
So then they take us to the Billings apartment, and Paul is feeling really bad because apparently he did let her go. He says as much, right? That he let Jules go, but he's really affected by this, and they have a fight, and it's kind of brutal because she's basically telling him, that he probably can't do his job, and he needs to go back to where he was and just settle down, right? And just be because he said before he was in administration, right?
Right.
So she kind of just wants him to go back to a desk job.
I'm really confused by the syndrome because from what he says, it sounds like what would happen is that he has to take a job that, what are the words that they use? Like, not physical.
Not physical.
And I
Yeah.
mean, to me, that doesn't sound like such a huge punishment considering how scared he seems to be of people finding out. Do you know what I mean? Like, is it, and even like when he was like 17 and he told that whole story about how
Mm,
he, punched that guy's
punch the
teeth out
kid.
for even, saying out loud that he might have the syndrome. It just seems really extreme for, it sounds like the kind of fear you would have, like if the syndrome got you sent out to clean or something. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, it might just be like personal shame too, like maybe he might just be the kind of person who wants to have a certain kind of
Yeah,
job and he
maybe.
can't have it if he.
But if he had a desk job before, I don't
Well,
know.
I don't. I'm not sure. I think that's correct. I definitely think that it's him not wanting to be perceived as "quote unquote" handicapped or
Yeah.
something less than, because he's pretty. Although he's sweet and kind and educated, he's also kind of macho. But I think that she was saying, didn't she say he had to go back to judicial because he
No, she
came
she
from.
wanted
He
him
was
to go
trying to
back to
talk him
just
into it. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but I would have thought that he would be one of these, maybe not the stormtrooper type. The what do they call them? The
The
raiders.
Raiders. No,
Yeah,
yeah,
so maybe
he was a administrative guy, but
okay.
but I don't know if like maybe any position in the sheriff's office is off limits because they have access to firearms and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So maybe
maybe.
he just wants to be in the sheriff's department more
He
than he
just wants
wants
a
to be in
gun.
judicial. Yeah,
Well,
he
I think
doesn't.
he's a very law and order type, follow
Yeah,
the rules. But on the other hand, he now knows how evil judicial is, and he
yeah.
didn't before. He believed in them, and now he thinks they're horrific, which they are. So he wouldn't want to go back to that. If there's any good guys, they're in the sheriff's office, and the
Yeah,
mayor's
at
office.
least according to what he's been able to see now, right? I mean, his
Right,
worldview has changed a lot, especially after Sims punched Jules on the staircase, right? That kind of.
right, right. Mm.
So that scene ends where he goes and he takes some tools out of his kitchen cupboard. Everybody seems to hide all their contraband things in the kitchen.
It's very
They
strange.
haven't got many places,
There's no
right?
closets.
It's either the cabinets or the oven.
Right.
But yeah, so he's gonna go on. He tells his wife that he's gonna go on a mission to find Jules and make things right, and that's actually what the episode description talked about. And so I thought he was gonna go hunt her down, but then
Is that what he wants his wife to believe?
so I'm not sure. Like, is he just telling her that to appease her? Because it's I don't know if he just got derailed when he got to Jules's apartment, because he goes up there and Judicial's there and he like gets stopped by the Sandy lookalike.
Yeah.
Right.
When he was talking to his wife, I kind of got the impression that, like, did he let her go? Did he, like she sees an opportunity, but I think he deep down maybe doesn't quite know how much of him like let go. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
He's just
yeah.
torn all the way.
Yeah, he does seem very conflicted because he's
Well,
he's
he's
clear.
breaking all the rules,
Yeah,
Yeah, he's a rule following guy who's now questioning the rules. So his whole world is falling apart. In terms of the syndrome, we don't really know. We see him trembling. I guess his hand shakes. But I guess I thought it was something that developed later, that he was just getting, and it might be getting worse. But it sounds like it was something he had from childhood, or
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I mean,
and we don't know how does it limit him? Is it just that people are prejudiced against him, or is it that and you can't do some things?
That's what I just don't understand. And like, I don't even get the sense that there's so much prejudice. So maybe it's just like being edited and it's not something that we see, or if it's just something like in his head where it's like,
Well, there's so
limiting.
much going on. I'm not sure they can show everything.
Right,
They've got
exactly.
many, many ideas going on in this, in this telling of the story.
We'll just have to use our imaginations.
Yes.
Okay, so and then they go to the down deep and they're looking for Jules in Martha's apartment. And this is where I think having a toaster that's actually, or a radio that's actually a toaster, comes in very handy, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Because if Judicial comes knocking, you can just be like, I just make my morning breakfast in that. It's not a
Yeah.
radio.
Yeah. Now I'm trying to think back. So much happens in these episodes. So these people who come and want to come in to Walker's workshop are from the down deep, from mechanical.
They got
No.
the sheriff with them, or that level.
Yeah, they have Hank. They have Deputy Hank.
Deputy,
and then
sorry.
I guess he escorts the Judicial raiders to her apartment or
They must
investigators.
have all been radioed.
Yeah. So they're she's not happy, but they're not like attacking her or tearing her place apart,
I think
right?
they're just looking for Jules.
Yeah, they're just looking
Okay.
for Jules. And there can't be very many places to hide a person, so I'm
No,
assuming
not a whole
it's-
person.
Okay,
Don't have
so
to-
then they move us back to medical with Pete Nichols, and he's talking to some new mom, and this was really Kelly. You mentioned during the
This
watch
was
party.
so weird.
It was kind of a strange scene because for
It's
one,
like, oh my gosh, my baby. She didn't wake up at 5 to eat. It was 6 when I woke up. I got an extra hour of sleep, and she's just like freaking out.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Did men write that episode?
You know?
It's like, what mother wouldn't be thrilled
That's
that their
exactly
baby
right. I was like, praise
slept?
the Lord, your baby slept an
Yeah, she
extra
should have
hour.
been like, "Oh my god, it was glorious! I got to sleep an extra hour."
Yeah, and babies, when babies are hungry, they eat.
Right?
They let you know. You don't have to force them. Although, I mean, if a baby doesn't eat at all, obviously that's cause for concern. But
It
yeah,
was just so funny. And then they had some visitors, right? And like some people came in, and Will Sims comes in and he says something about
This poor woman might just kill
Yeah.
you. I'm like, what are you talking
I
about?
know,
She
that
looks
was
like a
that was a non sequitur.
maybe
What
she's
was
just like
happening?
known in the silo as being completely deranged, like
Or
walking around.
was it his nod to the power of tough mothers who will do anything to protect their kids? I was
I
like,
don't
where did
know.
that come
I
from?
it was weird. What I kind of thought was maybe they had filmed more than one mother and they mismatched it somehow because it just didn't seem to fit with how that
Yeah.
lady was behaving. She was very like she seemed kind of like the quiet side type, and she didn't look like she was mad or anything. She looked scared when they came
Hmm.
in, right?
Yeah.
But
Who
yeah,
wouldn't be?
so Sims's comment was very strange. That whole like he was behaving very weirdly this whole time. I mean, he's like trying to bond with Pete Nichols, right? He's like, "Oh yes, I remember when putting my own son to sleep." She's like,
Yeah,
"Dude,
yeah,
you're like the big bad leather."
Yeah.
Leather jacket toting guy
Yeah.
of the silo. Nobody likes you. Don't try to be all nice.
Sending mixed signals there. Maybe he's trying to, help with his reputation. I don't know.
It's just kind of infuriating because he knows all the things about what the silo has done to Dr. Nichols, and yet he's just trying to like
Right.
put on this. I'm a good guy. I'm a
But he's not,
father.
nobody's as bad as Bernard.
Yeah, yeah. But so the sad part about this was that Pete reveals how his wife killed herself, right? She goes up
Mhm.
to, and I guess that's a popular place. And Kelly, we have debated, right, whether you could fall all the way down from one, and I guess that confirms it that
okay, that's insane. That, you know what a
people's,
mess that would make on the bottom? I'm sorry to get gross, but
Yeah, well,
yeah,
there's various fanfic if and when you read the books and you get into the books based on it. There's actually one book that dwells on that. I
okay,
can't be any more
something to
specific.
look forward to then.
Yeah, yeah. I'll tell you later
yeah.
when we're off the air
Okay.
what the name of it is.
But it sounds like it happens fairly often if like, I mean, I know that we
He
don't know
said the
how.
railing was worn down or
Yeah.
something.
I mean,
Yeah.
we don't know how old the silo is. We know it's at least 143 years, but it's probably older than that because that's just up to the rebellion, right? And so they've been in there from before that. But yeah, that's still kind of, you would think that
I guess there just aren't
that's
that
still
many
a lot of
ways to kill
people,
yourself in the silo.
I
Like if you think about all
guess.
the obvious ways people usually do it,
Yeah.
you're kind of limited. I don't know.
And maybe that's why they're so strict with who can carry firearms, right? So
Mm, yeah. Well, and a way to stop revolutions,
Where did they
yeah,
even
yeah.
get the firearms?
I mean, they must just be holdovers from when they first moved in, right? I can't imagine that they would, although I don't know,
I
we
don't know.
haven't
I
seen
don't
any
know
kind of
anything
factory
anymore.
levels, right? I mean, we know that they manufacture drugs, so I don't know.
The pharmaceutical
uh,
floor.
Yeah, wasn't there, speaking of how long they've been in there, when they, at the end of this episode, when we see again the label on the mysterious
hard
recording that
drive.
shows birds, it says, it gives what year it is in the silo, and I
Oh,
forget what it said.
97. So we've like
Yeah,
been trying to determine the timeline. So what
right.
we think is that after they quelled the rebellion, they reset the time, and the rebellion year is year zero. And so the Jane Carmody cleaning is 97 years after the rebellion.
Oh, I thought
Yeah.
it would have been before the rebellion.
No, no. So yeah. I mean, it's all still guesstimates, but yeah, like that's
Yeah,
what we've
okay.
been able to determine just from looking at dates and ledgers. Because in the ledger that Johns is reading in one of the early episodes, she's
Hmm.
reading the ledger from year 97 ledger, and the Jane Carmody's cleaning is noted
Is
in that
referenced.
page. Yeah,
Okay, wow.
yeah.
Good
So
catch.
okay, so let's move on. So so Sims claims that no one person is more important than the 10,000 or the thousands to come. And he's such a hypocrite in this point because he is like putting his family first, right? And I guess that's a big deal to Bernard, maybe because he feels that, because it seems kind of a small thing. It was just two agents, right? But I guess he was more honing in on the action. Like he chose to take two people off of their search for Jules,
I
and
kind of get the impression that that saying that no one person is more important than the silo is kind of like the whole silo's motto. Do you know what I mean? Like everyone
Right.
hmm
works together for the good of the few. And I think that it's just believing in that is what everyone kind of has to do. But I think no one actually believes it. Like you're always going to care more about like your wife and your son. You know what I mean? Like, I think
Yeah.
that's why things like that just don't really work.
Well, yeah, I mean, Bernard has nobody, right?
He doesn't seem to have anybody.
We
I
don't
mean,
know where he came from or who comes after him because he doesn't seem to. We get the impression, and I don't mean to jump the gun here, no pun intended, but that Sims is, that's the plan for the family that he would
yeah.
shadow him, etc. But Bernard is like one man alone, and so he could very well be thinking nobody matters except the 10,000 people in the silo and the future generations. But of course, does he
Mm,
have a successor?
I don't really know if he cares
Yeah.
about the people in the silo.
Ah, maybe.
Yeah, I wonder if like Bernard, because like Bernard, when he tells him that he's having second thoughts about making Sims his shadow, he says maybe it's not fair to Sims's family to choose him as his shadow. So I was wondering what that meant exactly, because I guess maybe he was implying that if you had to choose,
Just like a
if it
full
came down
time,
to it, yeah, like it's a
like
deep
all
commit.
encompassing job.
Yeah,
It's not just
yeah.
like
So if
eight.
if there comes a, I think he was trying to tell him that if there comes a point where you
Mm-hmm,
have to make a choice, you're going to have to choose a silo instead of your family,
mm-hmm,
right? Yeah,
right.
That's what he was trying to tell him for sure. Yeah. And I guess he believes it. He has no family. So,
yeah. But yeah, so then Mrs. Sims takes her son into the room, and then I know I saw that they actually have color photographs of themselves in their
Mm-hmm.
apartment, not paintings. Like it was color photographs, so I guess like when you're the monitor guy you can
You
have
get to use
color
the
oh,
color
photographs.
printer.
oh, that's interesting. And they know about cameras, right? If they
Definitely.
have
i
photographs.
I thought it was interesting that they had one in their apartment, but maybe
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's for safety. Maybe that's why she consented, because she sees the broken glass, so and she seems to know what it was, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
And
wait, I'm confused. So now I was talking about photographs in terms of you're seeing a still photograph of them. So they know about cameras. But so she saw broken glass. You're talking about the wife of Sims, Mrs.
yeah,
Sims.
yeah,
And she
yeah.
saw broken glass where?
On the floor when they first
In,
got into their
in her
apartment.
apartment.
Yeah, it was like in their living room or something, or
So
near the kitchen.
Jules had knocked that one out. So they
Yeah,
wouldn't know she was
yeah,
there. Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
Sorry. So many things go by. It's like you have to watch these 5 times.
Yeah, the mom had very clearly noticed that the apartment had been broken into, so she
Yeah.
like puts her son into his bedroom, and
Yeah,
she
and
tells him to stay
closes the door
there.
and tells him to stay
Yeah,
in there. Yeah. And then
Right.
she busts out her gun, which
Yeah, and
uh
then she sees the
the
case
hard
that has,
drive. Yeah, it's
yeah, the
on her
hard drive,
bed. But
and
yeah, so Jules overtakes her, and but she doesn't seem to have firearms training. I guess maybe she hasn't been sheriff long enough to have that, but
when would they
you would
have
think
had
that they
firearms training?
yeah, right.
I don't know,
I
but
don't
And
know how
where did
many days
they?
has it even been? Like, I'm so confused about the passage of
It
time.
hasn't
Because
been
there's
long. She's like in the first 2 weeks or something, and
yeah,
she,
yeah,
yeah.
it was probably
yeah,
scheduled for like week 4. Gun
yeah,
she's
safety
been
isn't very important
she's
anywhere.
been she's been busy reading her pact book.
yeah, because
She's
she says to her, "You don't. Do you even know how to work
yeah,
this?" Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's pretty funny. Although
Point and shoot,
uh,
right?
you just you point and shoot.
But yeah, so then Jules handcuffs her in the kitchen. She removes the tools, and then she sits at their desk, which I thought was amusing. Just the image of like she's just sitting at the desk, looking at the screen. Um, but then the hard drive starts. I guess it's opening or scanning, and oh my god, it was so slow.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that yeah, yeah. You maybe you guys are too young to remember, but my husband and I were saying, "Can you remember this when it took like 2 minutes to load a picture?"
I was telling
Yeah.
Crystal earlier that when I took notes, all of my notes are like, "Oh my god, it's still loading. It's still loading. The page is loading."
It was hilarious though, because I can remember that. I
Every
brought,
time it would flash
um,
back, I was just like, "God."
yeah, I remember showing my dad a computer, and he's not with us anymore. He had waited his whole life for this kind of stuff, to come into being. And then we finally brought him down an old computer because he wouldn't buy his own, of course. And we tried to load up a picture, and it was like slowly, slow. You could see it
Yeah,
go across the
yeah.
screen.
That's how
And now they're
JPEGs.
so fast that,
Yeah, but yeah, I remember that's how pictures used to load when you're on a modem
yeah,
connection.
yeah.
But yeah, so I think it was just cleverly edited. It was probably only like a minute or two loading like that, but they just kept cutting away and coming back. And so
Mm.
we had to watch it
Yeah.
over the course of
Watch
like
these
a very
6 little
tense.
flashbacks from an hour ago while, this loads. Fine.
Yeah, it was very
Uh,
effective television, though,
I know.
upping the suspense.
yes. Yeah. It really helped to build the tension
I
because,
know
oh
we
my
just
God.
waited so long to see what's on the hard drive.
Yeah, and then of course, Mrs. Sims is behind her with that key, or picking the lock. I don't know if she actually had a key to it.
I think
Yeah.
she pulled out her keys.
Yeah, it seemed to speak to Jules's inexperience as a sheriff or as law enforcement
Like,
because
yeah,
she
you
doesn't
keep
think
your back
to
turned
check
on
her
them.
pockets, right? So
Right, right, and she's not paying attention because, of course, she's watching this stuff on the screen.
Yeah.
yeah,
I kept
yeah.
trying to watch Mrs. Sims' face to see like what her reaction was to the video
Hmm.
or if she'd seen it before, but I really
But
felt
she's
like
kind
it
of
wasn't
blurred
giving a lot
out,
away.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. But okay, so then they go back to Jules's apartment and Polish talking to the Sandy clone. And so I wanted to talk about her a little bit because she doesn't seem very important because she's just a small character, but at the same time, they did focus on her face in the
Hmm.
Hmm.
cornfield. She's one of the raiders in the cornfield and she helped to arrest Jules.
Right.
So she was there when they did the whole fake, oh, I thought I heard you
She was
say
a
you want to go
witness.
outside. Yeah.
This is the short sort of woman with the short
Yeah.
curly hair.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
the one that
She's
looked
the
like
one who
Sandy.
you keep saying she's a Sandy clone. Who's
yeah,
Sandy?
Sandy is the mouthy secretary that Jules had.
Oh,
In
yeah,
the
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
sheriff's office.
she looks like her, but yeah, it turns out that's not her. But she was one of the witnesses in the courtroom who actually heard how that whole cleaning thing went down. So she knows that they're taking Jules out, right? So she seems to be
Right.
conflicted, and like, you can see it when she's talking to Paul, because she knows that Paul is concerned for Jules,
Yeah.
and like she
Hmm.
took his class, so and it was funny to me that she reveals that Paul actually teaches classes on the back. They keep
I
Right.
think
throwing.
I think she was a fan, like, we're fans of
Yeah.
him. She's kind of like, oh.
Yeah.
You know what's really
Yeah,
Yeah.
funny about when I thought back about that cornfield scene? Like, not only was she a witness, but they were so stupid about it. They didn't just say, oh, she wants to go out. They were like, oh, I think I just heard her say she wants to go out. Hey, Sims,
yeah.
don't you think?
It,
And, it was just so silly that,
It was
like,
definitely, he
there were
was
like people there.
yeah, he was, Bernard was taunting her.
Hmm.
And the line before that, which I don't think they repeated in this episode, where he said, oh, did I say hard drive?
Yeah.
yeah,
And yeah, and they're kind of mocking her. And they're not only evil, they're like the bad bullies from your high school
I
who
just feel like
yeah,
in
found it
terms of when you have like
amusing.
tons of other people around as witnesses, you should probably be a little more discreet, like, in the
yeah,
long
Right.
run.
Yeah.
yeah. But actually, I think there was only Sims and like three people, the three people that she was fighting with. I don't know if there were more people though.
I
Is that
mean,
what
I
you're
feel like
saying?
I saw a lot of people come out of the corn toward
Cutting.
the end.
Yeah,
Okay.
I thought there were people coming from two sides of the corn, so maybe
Yeah,
three on one side, three or four on the other. But it gave the impression
they
of
could
more
hear
people
them
coming in.
speak.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you know how Hugh does those silo thoughts videos each week? He had mentioned in last week's one that people were talking about something in last week's episode, and he said he basically said it was a feature, not a bug. But so I've been wondering ever since I saw that video, like what he was talking about, and I thought maybe it was this lady, and she's gonna come back and be important. I don't know if maybe she'll come forward next episode and say that that's not what happened, or maybe even
I'm
after
trying
that,
to remember.
so okay, so they go back to Bernard, and Bernard, he looks very stressed, right? He's like thinking about drinking. He pours his liquor back. He looks at he fingers that fob again, but it's not red anymore. It's white. So I think he's gone and answered the call, right, that he got earlier.
Right.
So that seems to be. I mean, I'm assuming that's why he looks so stressed, is he hasn't gotten very good news, right? So,
Hmm.
or maybe he's gotten a spanking. But then Sims reports that Jules isn't in the down deep, but he tells him that she sent a porter to Lukas. And I thought there's an interesting detail in that he says they don't know what the message was. So I guess that's one thing that they can't monitor is they can't, because those are the messages that are typed out on paper.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know
I
if
think there's
maybe you can type out the message yourself and just hand it to somebody and they'll just deliver it or something. But that's like one way that they can mask communications, because it kind of seemed like they have very few ways to keep whatever they're talking about secret, right? So, but this seems to
right.
be one of them.
Well, maybe there's a protocol, just like with mail. You don't open it.
Yeah.
But of course, if the big bad guys found it or knew that it was some important message, they would look at it, no
Mm-hmm.
doubt. So we see her see it.
Okay, so and then they go back to Paul. He's breaking into Jules' apartment. He like makes sure that nobody can get in. He starts looking around. He sees the empty spot where the camera was. And he looks at it, but he doesn't seem to know what was there, right? And I mean, why would he? Because it looks curious, but I don't think he can imagine or deduce what it is just from by that empty spot of the mirror. He just sees that there was something behind the mirror, but
Mm-hmm.
and I think Bernard mentions to Lukas some kind of thing about air quality, so maybe he thinks it might have been that. That seems to be
Right, he
something that.
does. He gives a fake explanation for us. Is that those are the air quality
Mm-hmm.
monitors or
Yeah, yeah,
something
yeah,
in the.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And so, of course, I'm sure you're going to get to this, but he finds the shard of glass on the
yeah,
ground. Yeah,
yeah,
and
and
he holds it both directions.
yeah. So he can see that. This was
It's
funny.
not a mirror.
Yeah, it's
It's
not
one
a
way
mirror.
It's
glass.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it's funny because I was confused when he saw that. I mean, I knew what it was, but then I was telling my husband, "Oh, are they called two-way mirrors? But why are they called two-way mirrors if you can only see through one side?" And so I googled it and it said two-way mirrors, also called one-way mirrors. And I was like,
Yeah,
"Wait."
it's very odd because like it's only one way is it a mirror, but you can only see through it one way, but you shouldn't be able to see through a mirror at all. So it's just like I
yeah.
don't.
I
Yeah.
think it's definitely been described both ways, one way and two way, and they're both trying to say one side is the mirror and the other side you can see through.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so I don't know, do you think he knew what it was or he was just looking at it and thinking, wow, why can I see through it? You know?
He would probably not even have the concept, but
Yeah,
he thought it was weird. He was
yeah,
like, that this looks different from the other side, maybe. It
yeah,
was really more of a message to the people watching, maybe, to us in the
yeah,
real world.
yeah. And I guess maybe because I'm trying to think like how would he know to hold it up to the light and look through it? But maybe he like held it in his hand, he could see his fingers behind it or something, right? So
Maybe.
and then he sees the open vent, which I guess they
He does
tried
a very cute pop
searching.
to look in there.
And then so this part I thought was a stretch. He thinks back to finding the Ducky Pez in the cabinet in that apartment that they searched. And then he thinks, I'm gonna go search the cabinet here.
And it's empty. And then he thinks, oh, look, there's a little rubber gasket around the outside of the mirror. Why don't I pull that off?
Yeah, I was just like,
Yeah, I think like if they would have done a better job like making it clear that I don't know. I mean,
he's
they
just
made
being
it
very
clear he was
thorough.
looking for clues, right? And I was
Yeah,
trying to think back if he knew that she'd hidden something or found something in an event before, but I don't remember him ever
knowing that she was
knowing
doing
that.
anything like that. Yeah, so I
Well,
don't
he's
know.
trying to be very thorough, and there are so few places to hide things, especially since they've emptied it. But was her bed still there? Did he take off the bedclothes? Did he look underneath? Those would have seemed to
I
be
I guess
obvious.
I just wish that they hadn't done it with like that flashback because it seemed
It was
unrelated to
spoon
me.
feeding is what it
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
So we would know like
Okay, so like just here's like a hypothetical. Like if he had gone into the bathroom and he had opened it and then closed it and then maybe it didn't close all the way. And then he
right,
was
right,
like,
right.
"Oh, why is it not closing?" And he notices that the rubber is like sticking out a little bit on the corner. And then he was like,
Yeah,
"Well, why is this not why can't I close it?" And then he realizes, "Oh, maybe there's something behind it." You know, like I can see that having been a more natural way to hit
We can
for him to
imagine they
find
filmed it
it.
like that and then it was just poorly edited.
well, and I'm thinking that maybe they didn't have time because they
Yeah,
packed so
maybe.
much into these. And can you imagine the last
Yeah.
episode next week is going to be crazy? But I think
It's
that
so
they may
short
have filmed
though.
it just as you described.
Yeah, next week's episode is only 44 minutes. Ugh. I remember seeing that
Wow.
and thinking, oh, come on, you can
Yeah,
use
you'd
the
think they'd
full
want to
60
like add
minutes.
another 15 just to. Keep us
Well,
hanging in there.
they're going to leave us in some incredible spot
Yeah,
where, yeah, I
yeah,
won't even, prognosticate.
yeah. They've been leaving us with cliffhangers for quite a few weeks
Literal
now.
rope hangers,
Uh,
stair hangers.
but yeah, so then Paul finds the guidebook, and oh my god, I felt very sorry for him when they show him, pulling the book out, because it's like, oh, he's gonna look at it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, and then sure enough, they show like the raw emotion on his face when he's like looking through the pictures. He's like literally, and I don't think it's just from the syndrome and the stress, and I'm sure that contributes to it, but it just seems like he's just overwhelmed and overcome
I think
by
they've
what
shown
he's
like
seeing.
everyone who, like, when Juliet looked at the guidebook, that, it was a
Yeah.
very drawn out, like, emotional thing. Like, not like with him, but,
I was kind of heartbroken to see what he did with the book.
Yes. Yes. When he throws it in, I was like, no, what are you
But he
doing?
rips out a page, right? And they never show you which
Yes.
page he rips
No,
out.
no, no. I looked at it. I watched that scene again this morning, and I think he took the picture of the dolphin
The
under
dolphin?
the water, because when he's ripping it out, you can see a picture of it's blue, and then you can see a head, and I think there had been like a child or something in the water with a dolphin or something like that. I'd have
I'm
to
not
go
sure
look
that's
back.
the one I would have taken.
So you don't think it was the two-page beach spread that we saw that the
No,
other woman
no.
envisioned herself
Because
in? No.
when he's folding it up, you can see that the page that he's folding
Hmm.
inward is blue. So
Blue, yeah, I saw
Okay.
that too.
I think he took the ocean picture,
I
like
was
the
theorizing,
underwater one. So
yeah, I
not the
was
beach one.
theorizing that there might have been a map of the whole United States or a schematic for the silos, but no, people say that's not possible. But wouldn't that have been interesting? So,
Yeah. So he like actually he revealed to us a couple of new pages. There's like somebody had taken a screenshot, and they figured out that it was for some colonial house, like a historical colonial house. And then there was also
Probably like a
a
plantation
city.
in
It was like
Georgia.
no, there was like a city picture with like a trolley and stuff. So
yeah.
I managed to find that by Googling. I Googled Georgia
Is
orange
it
and
like in
green
Savannah or
trolley.
so?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
it's in Savannah, Georgia. It's like some thing called Old Town Trolley Tours or something. And I
Oh,
saw like
wow.
the logo and everything. So that building on the page is Savannah City Hall, I think.
Yeah.
So
So you did
Savannah's really
some
beautiful.
deep research. Yeah, I remember seeing it, and it wasn't in this episode. It was the one before, right? When we saw some of the pictures as they were leafing through, or was it
yeah.
2 episodes ago? And I thought that's going to be, visit our Southern heritage, with the beautiful
Yeah, there
uh,
was a forest.
buildings.
I can't remember the name of the forest. It was like Chatta.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah, there is a green forest and an aquarium, and I think that's the page he took. He took the aquarium page.
yeah. Wow. And
Um,
it's interesting the people from the time, in the silos now would have no idea, but it looked retro, didn't it? It looked like something from the 50s or 60s, perhaps.
um, I don't know about that. I mean,
Well,
there's
I'm thinking of
some
the
of the
cover.
pages looked. Oh, the cover. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess the design does, but I
It
don't
looked
know.
like stuff that I used to see in old postcards that would
Uh
have,
huh.
those
Yeah, it's
big
kind of got that
letters.
vibe. Maybe it's
Yeah,
just Georgia's like
Georgia is a little
they're
50s,
behind.
60s.
Well, I mean, it could also be like in the future when they bring old design trends back, right? So,
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah, to be
like how
retro and
the
cool.
'90s are really hot right now.
Well, like, I go to the thrift store right now and find some 1970 junk book of Oregon, and who knows what
Right,
gets saved or put in a box somewhere, and
Yeah. And I
right.
mean, and people today still love all the different
yeah.
design aspects of like the 20s and stuff like that, right? So
Hmm.
it could just be that
True.
too. Yeah. So next, we go back to Jules, and she actually opens it, and she's able to use Allison's page of passwords, and she has library circled. Very convenient.
Yes.
Right.
But yeah, she puts that in, and then she gets to see the blueprints. That scrolls down, and she sees all the files, and then I guess George must have renamed that, and that's our episode title. Start here, right?
Start here. Yeah.
George renames one of the files Start Here, and that pops up his video. This was something that my husband was confused about. He said, "Why is she so just blown away by this video?" Because they do seem to know what videos are, because they have the wall screen, right? And the wall screen projects what's outside. So I guess, and so they've seen people outside, right?
But
They
since
go
that's
up to
like
the
the only
camera.
concept of video that they've ever had, I guess they just don't know that it's something that you can
Save.
maybe.
Well, most people don't have access to regular cameras or photographs. So the idea of a live camera that could do moving pictures and preserve it, I mean, that's very recent in our history now.
Hmm.
And so I would think that would kind of blow them away.
But like
Actually, yeah,
knowing they
that's a
can
good
get that
point,
video from the
because
sensor that they clean, and they
Mhm.
know that it's like one.
One scene that doesn't move hardly, I mean, the dust moves around and they can see people, but even that, it's, how when there's something exists, but it's like, people going down in submarines, but I'm not going to do that. It's there, but it's not there for your average person to use.
No, yeah, so you guys, yeah, so this actually makes sense to me now, because when you think back to before there was like VHS video cameras, people were watching TV long before that, right? Yeah, you're
Right,
right.
from the 50s. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, I
okay,
grew up
okay.
before any of this stuff because I'm twice you guys' age. And the idea of a video camera would have, blown me away. So,
And then later phone cameras, right? So
right. I mean, we had horse and buggies in my time, not really.
Well, if you're
But we
twice
didn't
our
have
age, just about to say
Yeah, I am. I am. I'm 67, so
no,
it was
that's
a
not.
very different world.
that's not twice our
Yeah,
age.
yeah, that's not.
Well, my
I'm
math isn't good. They didn't teach us math. We had abacuses.
yeah, I'm 44 for the
All right. All right.
record.
And Hugh, happy birthday to Hugh, is now
Yeah, yeah.
47. Yeah.
He's 48. Yeah.
Or did he just turned 48? Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right. You're
yeah.
right. Yeah.
All right. So, and then Bernard learns from Lucas, because he summons Lucas, and he's like really losing his shit with him, right? He's like slamming his desk down and like demand. Poor Lucas. He's like really shook, right? Because head of
When he slammed
IT.
his fist down, that scared me too.
Yeah,
When
I
he
know.
slapped his
Because
desk.
and then he kept doing it, right? He kept banging his desk. What did she say? But but before that, he had been mocking or like teasing Lucas. It's clear he knows what stars are called, right? He's like,
Yeah.
"So what are those lights? What do you
Right.
think they are?" He's like
Yeah.
got this look on his face, like, "I
Why
know
are they
what
all
they
like that?
are."
Why?
Yeah, I'm of course having read the book, Lucas is a bit of a different character. I won't give anything away, but I'm wondering what they're going to do with him because he seems
Mm,
kind of passive. He's a
yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
And he
Yeah, I
seems
don't know
kind
what
of boxed in, right? Because like Kelly last week, I said, "Oh my God, Lucas is screwed," right? Because I thought that they saw his face, and then it seemed like they looked him over in the hallway, and he got away. But it turns out that they were well aware that he was in the
Yeah, they knew
hallway.
he was there.
Right.
Yeah, and so he's like throwing it in his face, like telling him, "Oh, you just slinked away," and he like threatens him with punishment. And he's like taunting him, right? He's like telling
Yeah.
him, "Where should I put you? Should I put you in the scavenge room or the mines?" And there's the mention of the mines again. Do you think we're ever going to see what the mines are?
Well, it's interesting. Thinking about the scene in the cornfield, and then that scene too. These people, the writers are at pains to show that they're nasty people, and they're
Hmm.
like your bully in high school or whatever. They're not just unemotional evil. They're this kind of mocking people. So we really hate them by now.
Bernard seems to take pleasure in knowing more
Hmm.
than everybody.
A little
So
sadism going on there.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, so he's once he hears from Lucas that there was an 18 on the drive, that seems to trigger something in him, right? It's like I got the impression that that drive has been missing and he's been looking for it
And
Hmm.
18, which is the same number on his little keychain,
on
right?
his
So,
keychain
right.
that buzzed red.
Hmm.
Um But it was funny when he goes back to that monitor room with with the Japanese guy named Diego. I'm just really confused by that. but and that guy, oh my god, he just continually gives like dopey lines. Like he's like always narrating what they can clearly see on the
Yeah,
screens, or
he's
he's
not the
like,
person they
Oh
would have
yeah.
chosen to be the main operator of that like system. I
yeah,
don't think.
I think he got in from like a parent or something. He got
Yeah. Nepotism
he
got him
got
in the
that
door.
he got yeah, he totally got that job through some connection. uh, but yeah, so then Bernard gives that. I really like this line, like that's a 1 followed by an 8, otherwise known as 18.
Yeah.
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 That was great. Uh, but then yeah, and then Bernard has this confrontation with Sims, telling him about the whole how he doesn't think he's gonna make him his shadow. I mean, I guess if you're Sims, that's a pretty big blow, right? To hear that you were up for this big promotion and suddenly you're not.
Yeah, well,
Well, it
last
seems
time,
to be the family plan to, be in control.
the last time Sims told someone that he wasn't going to be a shadow, he like pushed him off a railing. So, and I still don't really know what that was all about, to be honest.
I mean, it just seems like he's getting his karma, right? I mean, you're gonna go kill your shadow. Maybe you shouldn't have, you shouldn't be the shadow of the head of the silo.
Yeah, now
Uh,
you're my shadow. It's to the position you wanted. Nobody can
but
see my hands, but I'm pushing him over the railing.
but I thought it was funny that like in this moment, like Bernard is giving him a hard time about sending an escort with his family, and then literally in the next minute, they find out that Jules is in his apartment, right?
Yeah,
And so
Right.
he takes off running very slowly. I think
he's just
because
not a fast
we
person.
so we know what level janitorial is on. It's on level 20, and he only has to run up to 17. But that's plenty of time, right? But yeah, so they start running up there, and in the meantime, Paul is reading the guidebook and he's doing the whole
He's-
burning thing. And then Jules is still watching George's video, and Mrs. Sims is getting loose and sneaking up behind her. I thought it was a little that was good tension, because you're like,
Oh
oh my
yeah.
god, is she gonna hit her with the hammer? But she actually does meant. I had to go back and look, but she does get that gun back, but she doesn't point it at Jules. She just has it at her side.
she just
Yeah.
wants Juliet to not have it, basically.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it had a lot to do with what she saw in the video as she was listening.
I
So she
couldn't quite
wasn't.
tell. It was like she said, "Turn it off" or something like that, And she clearly isn't like she's not angry at Juliet. She's not um,
Yeah, she seemed calm.
afraid of it. Yeah, she just lets her go.
Yeah, and then like Jules, like I guess Jules must take the hammer, because as she starts smashing all the cameras in the hallway,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Do we know
and
that it's her?
I think it is her, cause yeah,
I don't know who else it
um,
would be. I was trying to think if there was some other way the cameras would just slowly be
I mean,
turning
people
black.
thought it was Mrs. Sims. I saw a discussion on Reddit where people are speculating that it was her. She was actually smashing the cameras and letting Jules run, like telling Jules where to run, which I guess it isn't like that impossible, because maybe she knows where they are, right?
And this is before the redheaded guy is saying, "Oh, I can
Yeah, yeah,
divert."
yeah.
Yeah.
Jules goes to, I guess she goes straight from Sims's apartment and
Mm-hmm.
goes to Patrick's.
To Kennedy's, yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
yeah. I love that he came back on. I really like him. He's
I like him a lot
hilarious.
too.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm pretty sure she's the ex-sheriff now. Uh, but yeah, so she gets that guy. We have taken to calling him on Discord Ginger Hacker.
That works.
He looks so familiar to me, and I cannot place him.
Yeah, we found him on IMDb. His official name is Danny, but we still just were calling him Ginger Hacker. So
Well, he certainly stands out.
yeah.
Um, because yeah, red hair is a recessive trait, and there wouldn't be all that many of them. But he's really bright red, so he had to have genetics all the way down.
Okay, so we are approaching time for you, Patrice. And so me and Kelly can continue on. So, but do you wanna? We can.
I'll never know the end of the episode. No, no, thank you. I'm sorry that I have to scoot, and I'm sure you'll wrap it up, and I'll come and listen to the end of it. So thank you very much for having me. This was so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thanks so much for joining us, Patrice. It was really nice and a lot of fun having you
Yeah, it
on.
was nice to meet you, Patrice. Thank you.
Okay, take care. Alrighty. Okay, so when he's talking to when Jules is talking to Patrick and Ginger Hacker, he actually gives us some key details about the hard drive's history, right? So he was the one who traded it to Regina. And then
Yeah.
Regina got it for George, and then George showed it to Allison, and then Allison went on to helped him unlock it, and he couldn't get into it. So Allison was the key here in getting it unlocked because of it goes all the way back to her memo on recovering deleted files. So I guess he had run into the same problem as George, right? Because when George first contacts Allison, he knows that there's files on it, but he can't open them.
He can't get past them.
But I thought it was funny because Patrick says, "What the actual fuck?" And I was like, "Oh my god, that phrase! That phrase has made it all the way through the Silo's history. It has lived through the end of the world and
Some
beyond.
things last generations.
That was great. But yeah, so then we get to watch the rest of George's video, and he says a lot, but he also doesn't say a lot.
He doesn't say anything important. Like, I love that he's in love with Jules. I love that he's so cute and everything, but we need more info. Where's the door?
Yeah.
What's with the water? Why is water? Why is this a thing? Why was Juliet acting like it was acid? I just don't understand.
Yeah, because he tells her, "I found the door. It's 15 feet high. I couldn't get in it. It's metal." And then he tells her nothing about the water and how to get by it, just that it's not important. It's like, dude, why don't you just, she's scared of it. Why don't you just tell her what that means?
It truly makes me think that there must be something about water in the silo that they think, is there a reason that they're afraid of it? Or is this, again, where I'm just making too much?
I mean, I don't know.
I guess I guess we just never really would have seen a big body of water like that. So
yeah.
And
so
it's dark water too.
George, yeah. So what do you think he means by that? Because people are speculating. They think, oh, maybe it was only 2 feet of water, and if she jumps down into it, it'll only go up to her knees or something. And other people were saying that,
then why didn't he just say
there's
that?
There's a door somewhere else. Yeah.
Don't worry about the water. It's not deep.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all you had to say, sir.
I think it's obvious that it's just writing, right? They want it to be suspenseful.
They're trying to make it, mysterious. I know. Yeah. Double the flowers in front of the mirror, please. Okay. Jesus Christ. Yeah. There are cameras in the mirrors.
Double the water instead of the flowers.
Wait. Anyway.
Yeah. So George says he records the video in case he doesn't make it, which is ominous and prescient because he doesn't make it. But he specifically tells her what to go look for. He tells her to go look for Jane Carmody's cleaning. And then, then she goes in and she watches it with Patrick and the Ginger Hacker. And right. And I thought
Ginger Hacker.
So then it cuts back to Paul, and he's burning the book, and we talked about what page it was. But then it goes back to the Sims in their apartment, and they reveal Mrs. Sims, her name is Camille, apparently, and she talks to Sims about their goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to be protecting their son, right? That's the impression I got.
Right.
Is that what you got?
That is at least the impression I felt they wanted us to have. I don't know.
I don't know if it's also him becoming head of Asylum, because did you notice that she was holding his hands very supportively when they were talking, but as soon as he told her that Bernard said that he doesn't want,
she kind of yanks away from him a bit.
She pulls her hands off of him oh. I thought that was kind of telling, but it confused me, because is it just that she feels like he's no longer of use to her,
Right. But to me, it's weird, because if their goal is to get him in the head position, and that's somehow protecting their son, that's implying to me that he would be doing things differently than Bernard. And I get the feeling that he and Bernard are on the same page. So maybe they're not entirely. I don't know. Because she did let her go. And she said that letting her go was somehow related to protecting their son at all costs. Because I get not wanting people to come in there and tear everything up. But I don't know. Yeah. It's just all very mysterious.
Because, she had the gun. She could have, held Jules at gunpoint until they came. Is it that she's just so...
She could have shot her in the head, if, what they're worried about is, this woman being a menace or, causing a revolution. I don't know.
It seemed like she was way more concerned about the raiders coming into their apartment than she was about
Definitely.
Jules.
Definitely,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
And then she seems to know. She seems to fully know what's going. I have to. I started wondering, like, what kind of non-disclosure agreements do these judicial raiders have? Because I mean, some of them are privy to some pretty sensitive information. There's that whole room of watchers. They are well
Well,
aware of what they
yeah.
do, right?
Yeah. And
It made me wonder, like, do they house these people in a separate area? Like, are they never allowed to leave? And do they not mingle with the rest of the silo kind of thing? Or, you know what I mean?
well, I mean, when you go through that door into judicial, they seem to have like their like entirely separate area. Because when he pushes that guy, his, shadow
Yeah.
or not shadow off the railing, that's like something in judicial, right? That's not like in the main silo
No, no,
area.
it's outside. He had just come out of janitorial, and he was kind of, I think, alarmed that that guy Doug saw him. So I think
So that
Doug was
wasn't
part.
behind like the judicial door.
No, it wasn't. It was outside, and so
So
he
you
took
could
him
just push
onto the
people off the
walkway.
railing and they splatter down by
I
mechanical, and that's
guess.
okay, and nobody cares.
I guess.
All right.
You think they would have netting in
No,
place down there?
something. I'm like,
Some kind of thing to catch people. But instead there's fans.
Jesus.
But so Mrs. Sims, she seems to have an agenda. She knows.
Definitely, definitely.
At first, I thought maybe Sims's wife didn't know what was going on because he had talked about how his mom wasn't aware of what his dad actually did at the silo. But it seems like he has not done the same thing, and she knows what his job is and what he does. He's not a
Definitely.
janitor. He's not a
Yeah.
judicial like right hand to Meadows. He's just
I think she
hovering over
also
her
knows
because
that
he
he's a little
controls
useless,
her.
and she is just like the pants wearing person of the family, and she gave him an order. He had like one job, and
Yeah, because I mean, I think you mentioned this during the watch party, but the kid speaks to her very, like, yes, ma'am, yes,
well,
mommy,
it was
right?
interesting because when she put him in his bedroom the first time, he says yes, mom, yes, mom, and then once like the second time when she knows that Juliet's there, he says ma'am. And I was
Yeah.
trying to figure out if they were having like some secret communication. I was even like, if she was trying to get him a message through the door with her fingers, because like she said that she wanted to be like in blind sight of her son's door. And I was wondering if there was like another reason for that or something. But turns out not. Just being a mother, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. So then it goes back to Bernard, and he's like telling Sims that whoever is, I guess they're like the ginger hackers pinging their location all around the silo. Like they're like putting it on like some guy that Patrick doesn't like because he turned him in for some old crime long time ago. And he
And
says
nobody was like, how did he get up to 98?
Bernard says they're good, but I'm better. But he's not even typing anything. He's
And
literally just
what
sitting
is he
there.
even doing? Does he even achieve anything? Did
I
they eventually find out where the disc is? It wasn't in this episode, right?
no,
So like, why did
no.
he say that?
I don't know. It's hubris.
Sir.
Okay, then they go back to Jules, Patrick, and Danny watching the cleaning video, and then that's where they end it. And I just thought this was a really important moment because the two people watching this highly classified video are black market people, right? They're not gonna like be like the type to keep it a
Right.
secret. They're gonna go tell everybody, right?
Right.
And they're like the type of people who know a lot of people, right? Because they deal in relics and they do like shady things, so they're well
Right.
connected
Right.
in Silo. So
They will spread the
they've
word.
got
They will.
yes, they've got fingers out to a lot of people. So yeah, I think that's gonna be a key thing that they were there to watch that video. So but yeah, that's where they left us, and that's where we
When we
go.
saw Holston's like whole, when we saw his cleaning, we got to see sort of his view before he took his helmet off, right?
Yeah.
Like the
So
blue
he
green.
was
Was
looking
there like
around.
the same pattern of birds that like flew across the sky then?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like the same. I see. Okay. Because I mean, so like it's like what's outside, what's not outside. Is there an outside? What's really happening? And I was like talking with my friend earlier, and we were just like trying to figure out like, because you remember like in the first episode or second, whichever it is that Holston goes out, the guy who's like suiting him up is like, oh, we've made some improvements. You'll get a little bit longer this time.
No, I think you're confusing that with the short story because I don't remember them saying that. I went back and
Am
I
I?
watched it. Yeah, I went back and I
Oh, maybe
watched
I'm
it,
just remembering it
and
from the.
all like they suit him up and he says sorry for all the fuss, and that's
Oh, okay.
basically
I am
it.
remembering that from the short story.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
that makes more sense. Okay, but we can see that it's like the same sort of idyllic blue green, with the birds flying overhead.
Yeah, and so I had been wondering, I had been theorizing that Holston was able to see what was on the hard drive, like because I thought, he had it in his possession. He had Allison's
Like, did he ever
notebook,
get on? Yeah.
and they established last week that his computer can actually open it because Lukas said that the sheriff's computer can open it.
Mm-hmm.
So he could have watched like things, but at the same time, now that you mentioned that, when he goes outside,
Mm-hmm.
he's just stunned, right? He says, Allison, you were right. And if he had
Right.
seen the cleaning video, then I don't think that he would have said that. So
Right.
if he did get on the drive, I mean, maybe he did get on the drive, but I don't think he watched the cleaning video. So,
Yeah,
but
I guess I don't think so
maybe he,
either.
yeah. So I don't know but maybe he saw other files. Maybe he saw the blueprints or something else. I don't
But what I
know.
mean is, like, if it's that same blue sky, green grass, birds flying overhead, it just makes me feel like that's something they're playing inside the helmets. Like, not that,
Yeah.
like, that's not
Yeah.
something that's outside. It's just something they're showing them. But, like, to what?
Yeah,
Like, is
and
it
so I had noticed this detail, and I had mentioned it, I think, in Discord. But when they're suiting up Allison in the first episode,
Mm-hmm.
they show that they're like steaming her suit or something while they're prepping, but then they show where they get the helmet from, and it comes out of this box. And they get that box from a closet full of similar boxes.
Mm-hmm.
So they're all like pre-made helmets somehow that they go and retrieve when someone goes out to clean.
So they could be, like, preloaded with literally anything.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know.
Hmm. I guess, like, if that is something that's, like, pre-recorded, then it's just to get them to clean the sensors. That's the only thing I can think of. Like, why would you? Either that or it's like a mercy thing. Like, they know they're going to die, so they show them something beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I've like seen people theorizing that, like, people have been talking about like the reason people clean, and that they think that if they clean the screen, it'll show up as green for them. But that doesn't really make any sense to me because,
I know, yeah. But
but
then why else would they do it? And obviously, this is me theorizing that this is just a clip that they're showing them. There must be a reason that they show people that before.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know how I interpret the book,
Mm-hmm.
like what they say about why people clean. Because in the short story, he does say specific things that lead you to draw some conclusions about why Holston
Mm-hmm.
cleans,
Mm-hmm.
and that gives you some possible insight into why other people before him have cleaned. And Shirley has said when Holston went out to clean that they all clean, right? They've never had anyone not
Anyone
clean.
not clean.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but yeah, so because, okay, so the reason I don't understand why they would think that wiping the monitor or the camera would make the green appear inside is that they've all watched previous cleanings and it's never appeared
I
green to
know,
them,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah, like they all see
It's
that
been
all
cleaned
it
a
does.
thousand times.
Yeah, so all they see is that they wipe it and it just makes it clear and it's still dead outside, right? So, yeah, I don't know.
Maybe
I've
they
seen a
thought it just all cleared up in the past couple of years, and actually, guys, look now, it's fine. All that gray is just some buildup on the lens. Yeah, I have no idea.
Okay, so what do you think, going back to Paul, what do you think goes through his head and what leads him to burn that book?
I think maybe he either, like, knows how dangerous it is. Like, he doesn't know anything except for, like, how it makes him feel, and, like, seeing it. Like, maybe he's just imagining, like, if other people. I don't know. Now that I say that out loud, it doesn't seem as plausible.
Because I guess to me, the way I look at it is that it's a temptation, right? It just suddenly makes him want to go outside,
All the
and so
things, right? Yeah.
yeah, like
He
because
must be feeling.
a yearning, right? Like
Yeah.
I want to go outside. I want to go to see the because it's got text in it, right?
Yeah, and as soon as you get a taste of that,
And it's a guidebook, so it's meant to draw you to these attractions, right?
Yeah.
I think they showed us a flash of the back, and it says "going on your next vacation" or something like that. So it's like promotional, right? So
Because he's never been on a vacation.
you know,
There's nowhere to go.
yeah.
And maybe he
So
just thinks, like, it's even too much temptation. Like, he would know where to hide it. or temptation for himself to like come back and find it or to try to keep it, which is I think why I was surprised he took that one page. But I guess that's easier to hide than something else.
I think he probably just took the page because he just can't help himself. The temptation is too much,
Mhm.
like just the imagery is just such a draw that I think even with his rules centric mindset, he just wants to have a piece of it, right?
I
But he
think
still
anyone would,
but he
anyone would.
yeah, but he still knows how dangerous it is because he knows all the emotions going through him and the desire that he has, because he's just had that conversation with his wife about how utterly scared she is that he'll go out to clean and leave her by herself, right? And then I guess that must be on his mind while he's thinking about, oh my god, and now I actually have a desire to go outside, right? So
Right.
but it was so sad, like Patrice was saying, to watch him actually burn it.
I thought it was funny that the smoke alarm went off, and I was thinking, like, what
Yeah.
is actually like if there's a fire, is like it would be very hard to get water places and that. Maybe that's why everything's concrete.
Yeah. Yeah, because their kitchen looks very it doesn't look like a fire will spread very far.
No.
All right, yeah, so that's the end of the episode. You have any thoughts leading up to the finale? What's going to happen next week?
I don't know. I don't really think that Jules is going to get sent outside. I don't think we could end like that because I think that would be too much for me. So I'm going to go.
Well, I mean, the episode is called Outside.
No, we are not going out. If it ends where like someone else goes outside and dies, I quit. Haven't I said that already? What did I say?
Yeah,
I said if Julia dies.
You said
no,
if Julia
I don't.
dies.
I don't want to like get attached to some other character like 100 years later and then I don't find out anything. I'll be really upset. Hugh, make this not happen.
Speaking of Hugh, we're gonna have him back on after the show is over, so look forward to that. All right. So other items. Oh my god, I totally forgot. I had asked Patrice to take the pop quiz, and we ran out of time.
Oh well, we can just save it.
Couple other things. Update on my silo blanket. It is freaking big. I've never knitted a blanket this big before, and I'm going crazy doing it. I can see the end point, but
The
oh
end
my
is
god!
near?
Yes, the end is near. I can see the end of my pattern page, but it just seems so far away. And oh my god, it's just it's huge. It's gonna be end up being like a queen size. It's gonna fit on top of a queen size bed. So. But yeah, I hope to get a lot done this weekend, and maybe like in the middle of the week I can finally share photos and videos and stuff of it. I gotta get it done before the finale, that's for sure. So,
I have seen it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It looked like pretty done when I saw it, so I'm not really.
No,
was it just you still had ways to go?
A little bit, and I got to do the border too. So, but yeah. Okay, so audience question: what are your predictions for the finale? How do you think they're gonna? And it's called Outside, like I just mentioned to Kelly. So who's gonna go outside, or are we gonna?
I don't
just
even
get
want to go
like...
outside anymore. I don't care what's out there.
That's not what a lot of Reddit people say. Like a lot of people on Reddit are like, if they don't show us what's outside, I quit. But yeah, so on the subreddit, we're going to be having an AMA, an Ask Me Anything with Hugh Howey on July 2nd at 2 p.m. Eastern. So if you have lingering questions or questions that aren't like necessarily to do with what's on the show, maybe behind the scenes stuff or things like that, yeah, come with your questions ready, and hopefully you can get one answered by Hugh Howey himself. I was very happy you came to our watch party this week.
It was very spontaneous. Yeah, I did. It was funny because, not funny, remember how, well, anyway, my internet cut out like, I don't know, 5 minutes before the end. And no, it was my computer froze. It like froze. And so I could like hear the episode, but I couldn't read the chat anymore. So I didn't even know how.
That's
I know.
Bummer. But yeah.
I only showed up because I'd already watched the episode.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I do it too. Yeah, it's hard to pay attention. So that's why I make the watch party my second watch, because I need to watch it like on my own without typing, because if I start typing things, I'm going to miss a lot. So
that's why I came, because I'd already watched it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, I mean, definitely if you're into that kind of thing, you should join us, because it was a lot of fun. People just live chat while we're watching the episode. And it's always funny to hear people's reactions to what's happening on screen and making comments and posting gifs and stuff. So yeah, be sure to check that out. But if there's nothing else, thank you for joining us for another episode of Wires from the Deep. Be sure to follow or subscribe to us, and tell other Silo fans that they can find us at wiresfromthedeep.com. If you're enjoying our discussions, please leave us a review on your podcasting platform of choice. You can join the Down Deep Discord by going to thedowndeep.net and following the invite link to join discussions with other fans, or join our Friday night watch parties, although we only have one left. And then after that, I guess we'll have rewatch parties leading up to season 2. But yeah, if you want to contact me and Kelly, you can leave a comment on Podbean or one of our YouTube videos, or you can email us at crystal@thedowndeep.net. Tune in next week as we break down episode 10, Outside, the season finale. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. I don't want to go outside.